1. The station is air-conditioned, a relief for one whose skin is not yet adapted from the cool, humid air of Western Oregon. The crisp current brings with it an awareness that I've broken a sweat during the short walk between home and work. We have Todd's car, but mostly it's used when we need to go to Albuquerque, which has only been one time so far. The town is small enough that virtually any journey is a short journey on foot. I walk to my desk and sink into my office chair. Not 5 seconds after my ass meets the chair, a thick manila folder hums in front of me. "Heard you've done a couple murders," says Husk. He stands at a formidable 6 feet 4 inches. He has broad shoulders and a skeletal build that suggests that it once housed quite a lot of muscle. Now his whole image seems to droop, from the walrus mustache perched beneath his nose to the elbows that bow outward from his body slightly. He wears a bolo tie with a large turquoise stone in a fading iron setting. He has short black hair, which, under certain lighting, doesn't quite match the color of his mustache. I sometimes wonder whether one or the other is fake, and which. Maybe both. The expression on his face, while droopy, is nonetheless stern and commanding. "Let's get him," he says, and he walks away. My surprise at his bluntness is accompanied by a teeming, urgent sense of dread. I breathe deeply, chalk it up to past associations, and open the folder. Ferenz Pacheco smiles out at me, at least from the top of the stack of photographs. Through the tricky path of time, the photo aches of melancholy, echoing his absence. Ferenz was 10 years old in the uppermost picture, his school picture from last year, but had turned 11 between then and the photos underneath. He had the dark complexion and prominent cheekbones that I've come to know and recognize as the local natives. I think I recognized him too, but had not yet been able to become acquainted with him, an opportunity now swallowed by the permanence of death. I read into the report. Ferenz had been well liked, but was quiet and mostly kept to himself, according to the unanimous testimonies of others. He'd had a wit about him to rival any adults, and that far outshone his peers, but rarely did he put it on display for most people. His was a trust earned only through time. That great bitch of an entity that humankind can't quite seem to get along with. But once Ferenz trusted someone, it seemed no force of earth could successfully conspire to break it. This may have been his downfall. I take a mental note of this peculiarity. Emerging from my fear of other horrid memories poking into existence, I slid the uppermost picture aside slowly, as though my hesitation will reach through the boundaries of time to prolong his life just those few more seconds. Having worked as a detective for several years, I have developed a stomach for gore. While the murder cases back in Riverdell were relatively few, the ones that found their way into my hands were especially flavorful, as if to make up for their infrequency. My first ever murder case was an elderly woman by the name of Shirley Bellevue, an old rat of a thing whose senses only functioned enough to yell at her daughter and son-in-law, the Jukises, who had moved in some months prior to assist her in her daily living. I wonder sometimes whether Milton Juskis' bloodlust would ever have borne fruit if he and his wife hadn't moved in with monster-in-law. Simultaneously, it makes me wonder how many of us have the seed of violence sown within us at some depth, waiting for the appropriate sunlight and water to sprout. My mind wanders to Stephen King's Needful Things, in which Castle Rock's inhabitants are driven to homicidal rage by an implicit demon who manipulates their most intimate desires. Juskis, in a paranoid frenzy, had butchered Ms. Thank you very much, Bellevue, and left her rotting remains in an old tarp, tied off with rope and deposited haphazardly in one of Riverdale's plentiful creeks.